NFL free agency is less than 2 weeks away, so I want to give you guys my 5 underrated players that I think the New York Jets should sign in free agency. Keep in mind, I'm not adding any superstars on this list, so you could go check out another video for that. But let's get started. My number 1 player that I would want above anyone else is Austin Corbett, guard from the Los Angeles Rams. A lot of people are talking about James Daniels and how he's very young and how the Jets should sign him, and I agree. I think he's a freaking great player, especially at his age, but Austin Corbett speaks more to me because not only does he have positional versatility, he's played center in college before, he's played at guard on both sides in the NFL level. This past year, he was very, very good. He committed only 3 penalties all year, and one of those was in the playoffs against the Cardinals. And he plays in a similar type of system in Los Angeles, which is what we would kind of run with these outside zone runs. That's what he excels at. So I think he would be a perfect fit at right guard for the Jets on these outside zone runs. And keep in mind, he was drafted 33rd overall in the 2018 NFL Draft. So he was 1 pick away from being a first-round pick. He was thought of very highly. He just missed the cut on a first-round pick, but he was highly thought of coming out of college at Nevada, and I think he would be a perfect fit. He's 26 right now. He'll probably turn 27 during the season, and I don't think he's going to command that much money. I think it will definitely be under $10 million a year, and in my opinion, Joe Douglas would do that in a heartbeat, because that's kind of what he did with the Connor McGovern signing. I'm pretty sure we are paying him around $9 million a year when we signed him for 3 years, $27 million. So that seems like Joe Douglas would be on board to sign Austin Corbett for a similar type of deal, and he's a perfect system fit. So I think he's my number 1 free agent that is underrated. The second player is DJ Jones for the 49ers. I've talked about this guy before for many reasons, but number 1, he has the highest win-stop percentage against the run out of all defensive tackles. I'll put this graphic right here. He's very elite at stopping the run. He had 10 tackles for loss this past season. He had 40 solo tackles. I mean, Jesus Christ. It's honestly crazy how good he was this past season. Now, he's okay as a pass rusher. He did cause 2 forced fumbles this season, so he is very impactful on that 49ers defensive line that's kind of taken over by Nick Bosa and Eric Armstead. He's kind of the Robin to Batman, in my opinion, and he would come in at a position of need because our run defense was terrible last season, and that's putting it lightly. It was fucking atrocious. So DJ Jones would come in instantly. He's played under Robert Saleh's system before, and Saleh has continuity coaching him before too. So it would kind of be like he's still at home in San Francisco, but in New York. And I think it would be a great signing to not only help our run defense, but to help our defensive line as a unit overall. He's, in my opinion, he would exactly be the fully Fatukasi replacement, and potentially even better at that. And we could probably get him for a reasonable contract too. I don't think we'd have to pay him anything more than $9 million a year. So yeah, I'd definitely love to see him on the Jet. The third player is a safety, and he's not the Jabril Peppers or the Jesse Bates that we're hearing. He is Anthony Harris from the Philadelphia Eagles. He excelled under Mike Zimmer back in Minnesota when he was there from 2015 to 2020. He even got franchise tagged when he was there. That's how badly they wanted to keep him. He led the NFL in interceptions back in 2019 with 6. And he has been very underappreciated. I think he's very good with his ball hawking abilities. He can play some very good zone coverage, and he can come in and make tackles too. I think last year he had over 100. Now, his numbers did dip with the Eagles a little bit, but I don't think that's necessarily due to him regressing or being a terrible player at all. If anything, I thought the Eagles' defense was very good and kind of what even got them to the playoffs in a little bit. So I think he is not only a veteran player that would help out the younger guys. He's 30. It's not like he's 32. It's not like he's 24, extremely young. He's right in the middle. He's in that perfect balance range. And I think Robert Saleh would love to have him be an anchor on the defense. And I think while his projected annual contract is somewhat high, actually, which is kind of respectable to his name, I think because of the oversaturation at free agent safeties, that he will be paid less. And I think we could snag him on maybe a 2 to 3 year deal, just have some guarantees for the first 2 years, and if worse comes to worse, we cut him. But he excelled under the Mike Zimmer defense, and he was a perfect complement to Harrison Smith. So in my opinion, I think he is one of the better safety options that is kind of getting overlooked by the Jabril Peppers and Jesse Bates of the world. The fourth player I have is probably the most well-known out of them all that I'm going to be listing on this video, but it is Christian Kirk from the Arizona Cardinals. he has always kind of been the shadow in Arizona. You know, he's been the wide receiver too ever since he got drafted pretty much, and a lot of the talk goes around DeAndre Hopkins, but when Hopkins doesn't get the ball, it is 99% of the time to Christian Kirk, in my opinion. Now, he's on the shorter side. He's 5'11", but he has extreme blazers and burners. I think he could provide a tremendous deep threat to us. And when I think of Christian Kirk, I think of that deep yard play last year from Kyler Murray to Christian Kirk when the Cardinals beat the Cowboys on primetime television. Not only is he good at running deep routes, kind of those deep posts, but he's also pretty good with the ball in his hands. I feel like he's explosive. He could turn the Jets on, and that's kind of what I think Mike LaFleur would want in his system. We don't really have that extremely fast guy. We like to think Elijah Moore is, but I think of him more as a crisp route runner. I think Christian Kirk could be that deep threat that we kind of need, because Corey Davis, in my opinion, he's more of a physical receiver. Now, he can obviously, still burn people deep like we saw against the Titans, but Christian Kirk, he's a very good receiver with great hands too. And this is something that I found a little bit interesting. I looked at his snap counts, and he was only playing for 77% of the total snaps on the Cardinals this past season. So even at that, he had over 900 yards. Imagine if he played like 90+% of snaps. He would have easily had over 1,000 yards. Now, there was a concern about some injury history in the past where he's missed a few games, but last year he did not miss any games. And I think he comes in at a position that we have to improve to help our young quarterback, Zach Wilson. So I think Christian Kirk, we could snag him for a relatively good contract. I'm not saying that we're not going to be paying him anything and we're going to get him at pennies for the dollar. Not at all. He's going to want some money for sure. But I think we could totally get him at a value contract, and that's kind of Joe Douglas's MO. I think he would be a pretty good fit with the New York Jets. The fifth and last player that I think is the most underrated that should be targeted in free agency is Tyler Conklin from the Minnesota Vikings. All I hear is Dalton Schultz, Dalton Schultz, Dalton Schultz. What about Tyler Conklin? I think he is a more realistic free agent option for the Jets to target, not only because he is an excellent blocker. In Minnesota, they heavily depend on the run game there, and he is the one kind of doing the dirty work and cleaning up. He could also drop back in pass pro, help out with the offensive line. And he turned into a viable receiving option last year for the Vikings. He had over 500 yards, even after they traded for Chris Herndon. He didn't really do anything. Instead, it was Tyler Conklin, a guy that they already had. So he developed quite a bit. Now, he isn't the biggest guy in the world. I think he's around 6 foot, 6'2". But we need a good blocking tight end on the Jets. I've talked about it before. A main reason why a lot of the Mike LaFleur third and short or fourth and short run plays didn't work is usually because Ryan Griffin was messing up his block and he completely whiffed. So we have to go correct that. And the reason why I'd like a Tyler Conklin over Dalton Schultz is because we could sign Tyler Conklin to maybe a 2-3 year deal, nothing massive or anything, and we can draft a tight end in the draft with one of our second round or later assets on maybe a Jeremy Ruckert or Trey McBride or that guy from UCLA who I think, Greg Dulcich. I loved his combine performance yesterday, but I think he would really come in and allow us to run 2 tight end sets with one of the upcoming tight ends in this draft class. I think it would be perfect, and he could kind of be the main guy maybe for this year and next year. And then eventually, the tight end that we draft to kind of sit and learn behind him could emerge into that tight end 1 and 2 tight end sets, or it's kind of taking over the league a little bit, slowly. So I think he would be a perfect fit in Mike LaFleur's offense, and he would come in at great value, which is something, like I said, Joe Douglas loves and looks for. So those are my 5 top underrated free agents that I think the Jets, or heck, any team, should target. I think these are all great players, and they aren't, household names except maybe Christian Kirk, but they all can provide value to football teams, and I think the Jets definitely need some better players on this team. We went 4-13. We have to get better. How do we improve? We sign established players. So let me know what you guys think about any and all of these players down below. I'd love to hear them, especially Austin Corbett. And yeah, that's pretty much it, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.